We haven't turned the radio on once, we just talk. I've laughed and cried so much in my entire life, to be honest with you. A lot of folks think they're helping Bobby, and as I discovered on this trip, Bobby's helping a lot of people. I'm very proud of him. He's made a 180-degree turn on this trip. He's lost 15 pounds. Been really consistent. Sleep, the exercise, the nutrition, so he stopped eating like an asshole, in his words. And it's been extraordinary. He's sleeping now. His family's proud of him. He did get to fly down to Dallas to the offensive lineman seminar. There was over 60 NFL linemen there. Bobby presented. It was an awesome experience, and he did. At least half a dozen or 12 of them or so gave up and gave him a number. We talked about their traumatic brain injury experience and all the concussions and stuff. So it's been an awesome experience. A lot of people ask what they can do to help. We did make these t-shirts at standfm.com. If you're interested in picking one up, I'm a volunteer for FitOps. We're going to donate to them. I'm going to match your donation. So we can help bring in more recruits and help save more lives. Let me transition into the vertical diet. I've often said, what's the best diet? The one you'll follow. Dr. Aaron Carroll, who's the Dean of Research at Indiana, does a very good job of describing that here.
So what's the best diet for you? There have been a lot of studies comparing named diets. So many that a bunch of researchers were recently able to conduct a meta-analysis of these studies. The authors of this meta-analysis reviewed the medical literature for any randomized controlled trials of obese or overweight adults. The researchers identified 20,835 potential studies. Low-carb diets included Atkins, South Beach, and the Zone diet. Moderate macronutrient diets included Biggest Loser, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Volumetrics, and Weight Watchers. Low-fat diets included Ornish and Rosemary Cummings. At 1 year, the low-fat diets had a 50% chance of being best. The low-carb diets had a 48% chance of being best. They all worked, but to different degrees. At 12 months, though, the differences were not nearly as big. Here's that chart. The best-performing diet was a generic low-fat diet. Atkins lost its top spot by quite a bit, and others like Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers pulled into the pack. Anyone hoping for a silver bullet should be totally disappointed. There isn't one. The one thing all of these diets have in common is that they involve calorie restriction in some way. Generally, when you eat fewer calories, you lose more weight. So here's the truth. The best diet for you is likely the one you're going to keep. If the idea of a low-carb diet appeals to you, go with that one. If low-fat foods appeal to you, go with that one. It really doesn't seem to matter that much. The good news is that almost all of them work. There's hope. You just need to find the one that works for you. And then you really, really need to stick to it for a long, long time.
So there's many paths to the same destination. I use the vertical diet, all of its principles, to help people comply with their path of choice. I've recommended the carnivore diet many times to people who present with severe autoimmune disorders or type 2 diabetes. I have vegan and vegetarian clients. I have a chapter in the book on it. I train them, including up to competition, figure, physique, and bikini. I recommend keto and intermittent fasting as diet strategy, as an intervention for short periods of time or extended as it helps them comply. So there's many paths, and the best thing we can do is try and find the easiest path. We'll talk about that today. All of these diets work, however, by creating a calorie deficit. Losing weight is pretty easy. 6 out of 7 people go on a diet and lose weight. The vast majority of them gain it back within 3 years. This has been studied. The National Weight Control Registry has now over 10,000 participants whose average weight loss was 66 pounds. They kept it off for over 5 years. How did they do it? Success leaves clues. 98% of them modified their food intake. They went on a diet, any diet. 94% increased physical activity. The number one was walking. We'll talk a lot about that today. 78% ate breakfast every day. Whether you do or you don't, it's a matter of personal preference. This is what successful dieters are doing. 75% weigh themselves regularly. That which gets measured gets improved. So why do these diets fail? There's 2 main reasons we'll talk about today. It's hunger and they'll get tired. So we're going to talk about all the things that we do to try and mitigate those problems and help long-term compliance. Things like sleep and salt, and fruit, protein, fiber, water, potassium, iodine, iron, B12. We'll go through those today and how important they are. So I created these 5 simple, sensible, and sustainable steps, the most important one of which is compliance. You've heard me say compliance is the science. This science has been studied. And the top 3 keys to success are, number 1, above and beyond all others combined, meal prep. That's what the bodybuilding, figure, physique, bikini industry, I just call them professional dieters from now on. That's what they do very, very well. They tote around their 6-pack bags and their Tupperwares, and they have very good results out of it. It's a lot of stuff they do terribly. We'll talk about some of that today. I did throw this thermos up here. This was life-changing for me. I don't say that very often. I've been in this business 30 years, but I used to tote Tupperware around since college. Cold, rotten food that you have to throw a little Tupperware away because it gets moldy in there. Running through airports trying to find a microwave somewhere, paying a Starbucks guy dollars to heat up your meals. It's a nightmare. So started using this thermos. Now all my clients use it. Even my soccer moms who are real estate agents working out of the trunk of their car.